Hi, my name is Susan Wesley-Vega, and I am American and Costa Rican. So I speak English as my native language. I'm also fluent in Spanish. So your questions are, what is your favorite thing about being a teacher? Um, my favorite thing about being a teacher, well, there's lots of things that I love about teaching, but I love showing people the cultural aspects of language. I like to see them progress in their language development. I like to see the kind of confidence that goes along with that. And I really like meeting new people, finding out about their interests, why they want to learn English. And it's kind of fun sometimes to see what their perceptions are of, well, mostly Americans, right? So, what is challenging about being a teacher? Lots of things are challenging about being a teacher. But maybe one of the most challenging is just getting people to speak, and to practice, especially when they don't have in their regular lives an environment where this language that they're learning, in my case English, for them, is prevalent. So they don't have lots of opportunities to practice. We really have to maximize the time that we're together, whether it's one-on-one or in a classroom, especially in a classroom, because then you got to share time with so many other people. So that can be challenging. Motivating people too is. What do you think is challenging about learning a new language? Lots of things, but I think probably the biggest one, well, two things actually. One is, again, the fact that there's probably limited opportunity to practice a language, so you have to be kind of creative, and a person has to have a lot of self-motivation and discipline, kind of, to look for opportunities to make themselves learn the language. So not just rely on the whatever it is, 1 hour or 2 hours, 3 hours a week that they're in the classroom or with the teacher. The other thing that comes to mind right away is, especially people that are just starting out in the language, is the initial shyness and reluctance to speak. Maybe it's a lack of confidence too, and not having the vocabulary and not having the practice. So kind of getting over that initial phase and building that confidence and at least enough skill that even if they say it wrong, they're trying to say it, trying to talk. So can you tell us about a time you made a mistake with a student? Probably made lots of mistakes with students, but fortunately, in this kind of teaching, it's I feel like they're not really delible. So but okay, one thing might be not waiting long enough for a student to answer. I've learned, and this is something I've learned over time, is that sometimes it takes a while for a student to first kind of analyze whatever question you just asked, then think about what their response is going to be, then begin to look for the vocabulary words, right, all in their head, to answer the question, and then think about the syntax and the word order of how they're going to answer the question. And sometimes all of that takes a while. And when you're just sitting there after you ask, you're waiting and waiting, and they're not saying something. And sometimes I might jump in to give a little nudge or kind of a hint or whatever. And really what I just need to do is give them a few moments to kind of think about it. So that may be, jumping in too quickly might be the mistake, and the learning part of it is just to kind of relax and give them their space. What is your perspective on error correction in the classroom? Well, I'm really sensitive about that. I think you have to be really careful about how you do that. So I tend to not jump on errors in the classroom in a real direct way. I mean, I'll address them, and if somebody says something or I try not to make it about that person. I try to make it well, first of all, I model the answer correctly, and I might just write on the board or on the piece of paper in front of us or something, the correct word structure or and model the pronunciation or whatever it is that might not have been correct, or the right word. If I understand their answer, I know what they were trying to say, so I provide them with that information, and that's kind of my correcting methodology. If it's something that I see that happens a lot, and it's something that really you have to stop because it's just wrong, like the pronunciation or saying a certain phrase or something, then I'll take a minute to explain that. And I'll say, I see this a lot of people say it like this, but this is what's wrong with saying it like this, and this is what's right about it, without using those words. I mean, I'll just jump in and say the example. So, I don't know if I need to explain that or not, but if you want me to explain it, remind me if we ever talk, and I'll be happy to do it. What could you do if a student seems nervous or untalkative? I don't know. I am relaxed myself. I try to make them relaxed. When I'm teaching in my own office, I usually provide a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and a cookie or something, and I set it up very relaxed. Those are usually one-on-one private lessons, and I explain to people that I'm going to ask them a lot of questions, not because I'm nosy, but because I want to get to know them. I'm really interested, and I'm looking for material for us to talk about, because in order to learn English and learn any language, we have to talk. So it's really important. And if they need more time, they can tell me that they need more time to think about their answer. And I just kind of lay out all the framework and all the ground rules so that they know where they stand. And then I'm just encouraging. And I have a lot of positive responses and encouraging. I mean, great answer. Good job. Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. That's good. That was a good thing to mention. All those kind of things. Is company culture important to you? Why or why not? Sure, of course. Company culture is everything, right? How a company treats its employees, their expectations of employees, the hours that they require, the flexibility or rigidity of a company. The compensation is really important. It says how much they value their employees. And in this case, I assume we're talking about Craving English and teachers. And I mean, if you don't have your teachers, and if you don't have good teachers, you don't have much of a business, right? So, I think company culture is quite important. What do you want to know more about with regard to Craving English? I don't know. All the particulars. I don't recall that I saw it written down in the job description. So, I mean, what is the company culture? How global is the company? What's your, how flexible are you for remote teaching? As I mentioned before, I travel back and forth from the U.S. to Costa Rica, so that's important to me. Compensation is very important to me. I mean, that's how much you value my time, and I know I value my time. So there's that. Numbers of students, maybe, or, if you have one-on-one. So, those are some of the things. I'm sure others will come up if we ever talk. Okay, well, I think that's the end of your list, and this is the end of my time. As you'll see on my resume, I've worked for Berlitz in terms of teaching, but primarily I have been in my career. I've been a business executive working in private business in the United States, running a business, which had to do with marketing and sales and health products. I have, most recently, my main employment was working with World Vision International, where I worked as an economic development specialist, which I am. I am an economist. I worked as a knowledge management specialist for one division in World Vision International, which was a global assignment and meant that I worked in all regions of the world trying to lead and coach people and stuff to use certain project models. And I wrote and developed and facilitated trainings. I wrote and developed the training materials in English and facilitated cross-cultural trainings all around the world. So I have a lot of experience with different cultures and adult learning styles and things like that. So, yeah. Okay, with that said, listen, thanks for this opportunity. It was nice talking kind of with you. Have a great day. Bye now.